An insight requires the breaking down of existing knowledge, existing pathways, and reframing it in such a way, putting it together in such a way that brings about a new way of thinking and being and solving something. And it requires a different level of your brain. It requires you to be able to put your brain in a certain condition intentionally. And it may take some time to learn how to do that, but a lot of our conscious activities can become subconscious over time, and then we get more insights. So the people who get insights spur of the moment, they don't realize that they can train their brain to have these insights all the time. If we have 100 million people who have trained their brain to come up with insights on how to solve poverty, economic crisis, cutting down our forests for buildings and grazing, knowing that it's destroying the economic structure of our environment, someone can come up with another way, and another way, and another way that we haven't thought before. It's going to take what we haven't thought before to resolve the thousands of years of problems we have created because we have advanced in our technology, but not our wisdom and not our insight. It raises your intellect. So we get smarter if we try less. If we trust in our brain process to do what it needs to do, if we put it in the mental condition it needs to drive more insights, we get smarter, we solve more of the world's issues, but we also start creating things that we can imagine ourselves to be. But I believe we're being held back as a human species because we're still being weighed down with all this other stuff that needs to be resolved. We shouldn't be dealing with some of these things. Poverty, classism, racism, bias. Those are primitive levels of thinking when we were trying to dominate others. Right? When we're trying to make sure that we have enough food, we have enough shelter. There's enough for everyone. This is Mother Earth, the only living Earth that we know about in our solar system. It keeps giving and giving, but we keep taking and taking. And so we became very knowledgeable, right? We're smart. We're smart humans now. We got Google. You know, I'm a Gen Xer, so I grew up without Google. And my children, all they know is Google. I'm like, you guys are good. Or do they? Because I remember my father saying, when I asked a question, go look it up. Right? We literally had a whole set of encyclopedias to go look it up. And of course, there came a time when you were like, get it, I'm not going to ask. You already know what the answer is, right? So kids have so much access to technology, information. We're all on information overload. What is missing? Because we got the technology, we got the knowledge, but why are we still dealing with problems of humanity? Okay, so we've evolved how we think, but we haven't necessarily evolved how we think. What's lacking is wisdom and our understanding of how we use technology. Because the technology has gotten us so far, but it's also because of the lack of engagement. I mean, I can talk to somebody in Siberia. I have a student in Siberia that could share her perspective. a miss. And we got to figure it out. All of us in this room, we have to figure it out because we're at a tipping point in our human history. Socially, economically, environmentally, we're just a few decisions off from the apocalypse. I know that sounds very annoying, but I got to shop your system as well, right? So we have the knowledge, but the wisdom and insight on how to solve the issues plaguing our world may send us down a road that we may not be able to come back from. So we need to reintegrate that wisdom. And wisdom, spirituality, all that evolved with these other neurotechnologies, the writing, the science. But somehow it got put on the back burner and technology took the forefront. So we're like ahead of ourselves, if you will. And we need to catch up before the technology takes over and takes humanity to a place where we may not be able to come back from. And I'm not trying to point the finger at the corporations. I'm not trying to point the finger at anybody because it's a human problem that our environment is being polluted, that GMOs are affecting organic plants, that the air quality is getting poor, that these chemicals are going into our foods and starving our brains and bodies of the nutrition we need to live optimally, to think optimally. This is everybody's problem, right? But the ones